This meeting comes to order. I declare that a quorum is present and the media has been notified. This time I entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the agenda and it has been seconded. Any discussion? All of those in favor of the motion then, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. At this time, I ask everyone to please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the prayer. Prayer first. Our Father, who art in heaven,
hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not to temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of April the 12th and for the budget workshop of April the 18th, 2016?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the minutes for the regular meeting, April 12th, 2016, and also the minutes for the budget workshop on April 18th, 2016.
We've had a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of April the 12th and the budget workshop minutes for April the 18th. Is there any corrections or questions about the minutes? Then all those in favor of this motion, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay. Do I have a motion for the approval of the March 2016 Head Start Budget Expenditures Report and the March 2016 Head Start Credit Card Report?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the March 2016 Head Start information, the Budget Expenditures Report, and the March 2016 Head Start Credit Card Report as presented in Agenda Item 5.
We have a motion to approve the March 2016 Head Start information as presented in Agenda Item 5. Is there any discussion? Then at this time, all of those in favor of this motion, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay. Moving on to Agenda Item number 6, the Legacy Builders Special Recognition of the National Library Month. Ms. Sharon Blackwood, our Berkeley County School Teacher of the Year, the Goose Creek High School Binary Bots Robotics Team, and the Timberland High School Boys State Basketball Championship Team. Miss Amy.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Superintendent Blackburn, ladies and gentlemen of the board, and all of you who have joined us this evening. This month is National Library Month, and we would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the roles of school librarians in our district. Armed with print resources and technology, teacher librarians are generals in the war on illiteracy. They are intellectual visionaries whose talents make them invaluable in the information age. Their knowledge and enthusiasm makes libraries the hubs of our schools. We are grateful for all that these gifted professionals do to support teachers and to enhance the learning opportunities of students. Berkeley County School District celebrates the contributions of the teacher librarians who serve our schools. For our second recognition, I'd like to invite Ms. Amanda Cromer, Berkeley County School District's 2015 Teacher of the Year, to the mic.
Good evening, Chairman Hayes, Superintendent Blackburn, members of the board. Thank you for allowing me this introduction. It is my honor. Sharon was born in North Carolina, but was an early transplant to the PD region of South Carolina, with her parents being South Carolina natives. She graduated from Winthrop University cum laude with a BS in elementary and early childhood education. She's been teaching for 21 years, with the last 3 of those years being at SEDGEFIELD Intermediate. She and her husband will celebrate their 23rd wedding anniversary this summer, and they have 2 daughters in the Honors College at USC. Sharon has numerous leadership roles, such as the grade chairperson, a PLC lead teacher, and a teacher mentor and evaluator. She knows that she must acknowledge where children are when she begins working with them, yet she never stops believing that they can attain a high-reaching goal. Through encouragement, building trusting relationships, creating nurturing environments, and constant effort, she feels educators help children learn how to become productive, contributing citizens. She remembers when she began teaching, the computer lab was a custodial closet filled with Radio Shack computers. Today, she makes lesson plans for students to demonstrate their understanding of the plot, theme, and characterization from a book by creating iMovie trailers on an iPad. She believes education is the chance for all children to become the individuals they dare to imagine. She believes that teaching is not a profession built on accolades, but rather the achievements seen in the small moments. The seeds of perseverance, patience, self-control, forgiveness are planted in every child she teaches. She says, "I do not know how far the roots will grow or when the shoots will sprout, but I know that I'm passing forward the lessons I have learned from wiser individuals than myself." It is my pleasure and honor to introduce to you Berkeley County's 2016 District Teacher of the Year, Ms. Sharon Blackwood.
Thank you, Superintendent Blackburn, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I cannot tell you what an exhilarating few weeks this has been, and I am so excited about the challenges and the opportunities ahead. I did grow up in small town South Carolina. My dad actually was very fond of saying that we lived in the garden spot of the swamp, and to family members, he usually would say that Johnsonville was the best kept secret in Florence County. So those of you familiar, very small towns. People have different opinions of small towns. Personally, I love them, and I love them because of the community, the way the community really rallies around school events and church events, and they are all in. They support them and give everything that they can to help the community. Berkeley County has that same spirit. And a few weeks ago, or several weeks ago, here at the board meeting, that was brought forth to my attention by some words that were said by some of the board members. We all know that the children, our children, are the future of our towns and of our county and of our state, and we have to give them our best in order for them to be able to take the best opportunities when they come available. And so we need to give them our best now. But how we define the best defines the district. And so when I went home and I told my husband what Mr. Chairman had said, that was the lightning moment for me. And he said, and I will never forget it because I have never heard these words myself, that Berkeley County considers their greatest assets to be their teachers. Because as Amanda said a moment ago, teaching is not in the accolades. It's not in those moments. And it's in all of those small moments. And when you put all those small moments together, you make differences for each and every child so that they can become the best that they dare to imagine. I look forward to working with each of you over the next couple of years, and I hope that you continue to call on us for any questions or anything that we can do. Thank you.
This next group is no stranger to us. They attended the board meeting earlier this semester to be recognized for their outstanding work. Well, tonight, Goose Creek High's binary bots are back with another win. The team won the South Carolina VEX Robotics Championship at River Bluff High in Lexington. As a result of their win, the team qualified to compete at the World VEX Robotics Championship in Louisville, Kentucky last week. They attended the competition, and now they're back with some good news. At this time, would the binary bots and their teacher, Mr. Sklar, please come forward to be recognized? And Mr. Sklar, would you please tell us about how the binary bots did at the World VEX Robotics Championship?
Well, I didn't know I was speaking, but I can do it. I spent more time with the robot than with my family this year, so. I'm Jeff Sklar, Project Lead the Way engineering teacher. This is our third year. This team qualified for the World Championships, Louisville, Kentucky. 8% of the world's teams make it. That is, there's over 10,000 teams worldwide. Only 500 get there, so we were one of them. We had to win the state championship, and that only consists of 3 teams out of 112 in this state. So just to qualify that was a great honor. They've spent tireless hours fixing the robot, programming the robot, and we did excellent. We were in first place in our division halfway through the competition and ended up 9th overall out of 100 teams in our division. And we qualified for the finals and lost in the quarterfinals 2-1 to the team that went to the national championship. We lost 2-1 to them, so it was above and beyond what I expected, considering the competition from teams from 38 countries throughout the world. I can say out of the 500 teams there, I feel that maybe a handful were just truly better than us, and I'd say the other 475 or so, I think we could have beaten. Just, we had a battery problem. But anyway, I'm not going to get into that. I just want to tell a real quick story. These kids have been with me for 3 years, and they've built their way up. And Ken Aliento, my team captain, took over the robot and led this team beautifully. I didn't have to do as much work this year, except for like getting food and, ordering parts and stuff. But we were 8-2 in the qualifications, 8 wins and 2 losses, and ended up, like I said, 9th place. But we teamed up with 2 other teams, and we had to make a complete adjustment to our robot, and we had like 30 minutes to do so we can drive underneath another robot and it can land on top of us to get a lift. So within 30 minutes, they completely changed out their robot, cut. It was the most satisfying thing I've ever seen, because to be put on a spot like that and for them to be able to respond that quickly and to completely change your robot out and then get to the first match, it paid off. So that was the highlight of my entire thing, that they can able to do that, and I didn't tell them what to do, they just did it, and so for that I'm extremely happy. Like I said, hopefully next year we continue on with this pattern and we can get more middle schools and elementary school feeders near us involved in that, and that's what I'm hoping for. Thank you.
So can I get 3 of you up top, the rest of you on the bottom, and then Mr. Hayes over here? All right, they're the lucky ones. Okay, look at me. 1, 2, 3.
Binary bots. And we'd also like to recognize the parents of the binary bots. Are any of you here this evening? At this time, I'd like to invite Mr. Charlie Davis to the mic to recognize our last group of students for this evening.
Once again, it's my pleasure to recognize success in the athletic field with the Timberland High Boys basketball team, men's basketball team. I'm going to read a couple statements that tell you about their accomplishments this year, which are really special. But I also want to tell you, at the end of that time, a quick little story about my experience of watching these young men together a couple weeks ago. But first of all, let me ask each one of you to come up as a group and just, Coach Stewart, if you and your coaches, including Miss Bradshaw, if she's here, and sort of get lined up here. I want. Mr. Daugherty, if you as principal of Timberland High School would come up with them also.
Charlie, this isn't about me. This is about them. I appreciate it. Come on in the picture. Come in the picture.
Good try.
You know, one thing, when you're short, you know what you need to do. Come up front.
I didn't hear you, Reverend Barnes. What did you say, sir?
Yeah, you heard me.
I did.
If we can come back together just a little bit here. The team finished 23 wins, 6 losses. They made a great run at the end of the year to end up in the state championship game. The game didn't turn out like we hoped. The Timberland team lost on a last-second shot that could have tied the game. It was well attended by the district. Superintendent Blackburn was there. Mr. Franchini was there. Mr. Jackson was there. We had great support and thoroughly enjoyed watching y'all represent not only Timberland High School, but Berkeley County. Now, I said lost, and that's the last time I'm going to use the word lost, because these guys are winners. And the reason that I said what I said in the beginning about how special they are, I had the opportunity to attend their basketball banquet where they honored award winners, and the team and the parents were there. Community members were there. And 2 words came to my mind. First of all, winner. Winner. Because each one of these guys are winners regardless of what the score was. Coach Stewart said there were 52 teams in the state this year that were in this classification. We finished ahead of, we were number 2, but they're still winners. The second word that really is even more special to me when I think of these guys is family, because they're not smiling very much now, but this young man on the back row right there, see that smile? That's the way all of them were that night. They were cutting up with each other. They were having a great time, and this is what athletics is all about, the ability to come together as a team and play together, love each other, treat each other like family. And Coach Stewart and his staff have done a great job of creating that culture, that family culture that is so important. So even though we congratulate you tonight on being lower state champions, we also are more proud of the way you represent your school and us. Thank you, guys.
right, if you guys take one like half step in.
While she's taking this picture, go ahead. I wanted to also, Coach Stewart had an academic coach for these guys this year, not only the assistant basketball coaches while y'all take the pictures, but we had Miss Bradshaw as the academic coach that meant so much to making sure these guys did what they need to do in the classroom as well. So thank you, Coach Stewart, for making sure. Are any of the parents with the players tonight? Thank you for coming. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Coaching football. Macedonia, and they went on.
Okay. Next year we'll be not lower champion. Next year we'll be what?
State.
Third champion.
State.
There you go.
That concludes our special recognitions for tonight, but please do remember to take a moment to read our Legacy Builders publication and read about the awesome things that are happening in Berkeley County School District. Thank you.
Do we have any board members who want to make any comments? I figured you would.
Listen, that's like offering a fat man a donut. He's not going to turn it down. Just very quickly, Timberland, what a great community. You brought together a few small towns and you become a powerhouse in football and basketball. But my comments are really to Jerome Stewart. He was a student of mine at the Citadel. Players, he made an A in every class. Didn't miss a class. So I'm not, yeah, there you go. There you go. So, Coach, I didn't mean to do that to you. But you know how much you mean to me, and I wanted to thank you personally. Congratulations, Coach. Proud of you. Go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, we certainly want to congratulate them and very proud. And like I said before, you're a lower state champion this year, but next year, we know we're going to be what? Let's do it.
Well, I'd like to just add on to what Charlie was saying, you know, the way you represented yourselves, your school, and Berkeley County. That is to me what this whole thing is, as Charlie says, it's what athletics is all about, is how you respect each other and respect what you're doing. Thank you. Anybody else? All right, at this time, we're moving on to agenda item number 7, which is citizen comments. And we have none tonight, but this would be a good time if anyone is here with the group and would like to leave at this time. This is a good opportunity to do that.
Miss Fan. Yes. Mm-hmm.
They did it again.
All right, moving on to agenda item number 8, Administrative Services, item for information about the quarterly construction update. Mr. Jackson.
Good evening, Chairman Hayes, Superintendent Blackburn, members of the board. At this time, I'd like to
Invite Mr. Gene Sides and Ms. Crystal Queen up to present the quarterly construction update.
Chairman Hayes, Superintendent Blackburn, members of the board, I'd like to present to you the latest and greatest construction update on the school improvement bond projects. On the first slide, as you can see, a lot has been accomplished in the past 2.5 months since Ms. Myers last presented to you. As you can see, we have 3 projects that are currently finishing up or in their construction phase. We've got the Goose Creek High is in its final phase of abatement, demolition, and the construction of a new bus loop. The Philip Simmons Elementary Middle School in the final quarter of construction to open in August of 2016. The Philip Simmons High School is on track and on schedule for opening in August of 2017. And the Tanner Plantation Foster Creek is currently in the schematic design phase along with due diligence, while an early jurisdictional wetland permit is in progress. And the Fox Bank Elementary is in the same phase as the Tanner Plantation. It's in an early site package while the jurisdictional letter is under review by the Army Corps of Engineers. As you can note at the bottom, Nexton Elementary, Stratford, Cross High School, Merrington are complete, and they are in their 1-year warranty phase, which is part of the closeout. This slide is just to bring to your attention that Cross High School is complete, but at the end of the project, we were allowed to be able to say that we saved the district $128,766.75. In addition to this, I'd like to remind the board that there is a dedication this Saturday, April 30th at 11:30 to dedicate the auditorium to Miss Wilhelmina Moore. Goose Creek High additions and renovations. This was one of the most complex of the projects with numerous phases, and we are pleased to inform you that the project is in its final 5th phase that involves the demolition of existing buildings, including asbestos abatement and the construction of a new bus loop. The items listed as F are the areas that are being demolished, and E is where the new bus loop will be constructed. On the second slide, these are just the new additions and renovations that are currently in place and being used and occupied. And this slide kind of shows you where the abatement and demo schedule is. Right now, the abatement is near 80% complete, showing a building 300 is in its final phases of completion of demolition, or that's abatement. And the demo is at building 500, and that will be completing in the next couple weeks. So we'll just have buildings 300 and 200 to complete. Philip Simmons Middle School and Elementary School. I call this our sleeping giant. It's finally, we've had some stable weather. It's allowed us to progress exponentially with it. The project is currently under roof, which has allowed for the interiors, such as the installation of the casework, doors, floor finishes, kitchen equipment to be installed, and to prepare us for an overhead inspection. Also included are the mechanical and final tie-ins at point-to-point connections. In addition to this, the stable weather has allowed us to almost complete the parking lots on the elementary and middle school side. As you can see in the lower portion of the slide in front of Area F, that's the multi-purpose field. And to the left and right of that, in front of E and G, are the elementary and middle school parking lots. And the baseball fields are to the right. If stable weather continues, we'll be able to get our permits to operate in the next couple of weeks, which is far earlier than we anticipated for July 1st permits to operate. We should be able to get them by middle of May. These are the small areas. This is the kitchen equipment being installed. That's the dishwasher in the kitchen. Terrazzo flooring is being installed. It's currently being ground so that it's got a polished finish. And the last remaining areas of drywall are being put in for painting. This is the multi-purpose room in the top left. As you can see, the ceiling tiles are removed, and they will stay removed until we have our overhead inspection. And once that is passed, we will then begin to complete the project. To the right is the main entry to the elementary school side. Just below that is the gymnasium. This is an old slide. Well, it actually was taken last week, but now it has a roof on top of it. This is just the framing. And to the left is the media room sheetrock installation, which that has now been painted. These are the corridors. The terrazzo that's installed in the flooring is rough, so it needs to be polished. And to the right is the elementary school parking and the VCT flooring in a project room, along with the casework is being installed. On the high school, this is making progress as well. The site work is ongoing, and it will continue to go on for the next few months. The contractor is working from the gymnasium at the top of the screen to the front, which is the academy building. The site work is ongoing, and the main disciplines on site are the steel erection crew, the concrete foundation crew, and the CMU installation. And they will continue on for the next few months. If the stable weather continues, the time lost during the extremely wet fall and winter months will be made up over the summer. To the left is the gym entrance. That's the steel erection. Underneath that is our on-site water mitigation. Basically what we're doing is pumping water from pond to pond so that we don't have to discharge it into any of the wetlands. So that's part of our wetland program for erosion control. And then on to the right of that is our technology forest, where you've seen some perspectives of this will be like a digital technology forest. Up at the top left is a 9th grade collaborative space with the classrooms, the flex spaces on either side. To the right is the cafeteria entry, and at the very bottom is the gymnasium roof framing. Fox Bank Elementary, we are currently undergoing a due diligence phase where we've had a new survey completed. The jurisdictional wetland determination is still in progress with the Corps, and while that is ongoing, we are scheduling some geotechnical investigations for the soil improvements and foundation recommendations. And this is Howe Hall Ames and College Park. This is just one of our smaller projects, roughly about $500,000 to complete, and this is completed, but we felt that it was necessary to show the improvements that prior to this installation, what you saw when you approached the school was a small brick building with HVAC units on top, where now you can't see that. It has a very nice decorative screen on the front identifying the school. And this is Tanner Foster Creek. We just closed on the property April 22nd. And the design team is currently completing the site plans for Department of Transportation and OSF review and approval. In regards to the stacking, student drop-off, and amenity locations such as lift stations and service yards. The conceptual elevations are in progress and are scheduled to be reviewed within this week. This is the schematic floor plan that's in place. It will be further developed along with the site. The main entrance is at the bottom, and the bus entry is to the left. And this is the second floor with the classrooms. The yellow are the support services such as bathrooms, restrooms, and janitor closets. And now I'm going to turn the presentation over to Ms. Crystal Queen, who will provide you an update on the Berkeley Educational Center Phase 1.
All right. Good evening, Chairman Hayes, Superintendent Blackburn, members of the board. I'm going to switch gears just a little bit and bring a project that may have fallen back in your mind a little bit. This is the Berkeley Education Center, which is just around the corner from us. So a lot of local interest here. So I'm going to talk about this building. The renovations and additions to this facility were included in the 2012 school improvement referendum. So this project currently has a total budget of $5 million. However, the cost estimate has reached almost $7.5 million to date to complete the work we need to restore the building's facade, asbestos removal, complete the interior renovations, which would provide space for a new boardroom, classrooms for Head Start and adult education, furniture and equipment. So just want to talk a little bit more about the progress of the project and how our team came to this conclusion. Last year, our selection committee hired Stubbs Mulger Heron to provide the architectural services for this project. Since employed, they performed a building study along with detailed measurements and documentation. As you can see, the study revealed several issues that we want to bring to your attention. The existing structural elements of the building do not meet the current life safety code that's required. The stairwells do not meet the required fire separation. The exterior walls need a lot of help. We need to repoint the masonry joints, and we need to fully clean the building. The existing masonry walls need a vapor barrier treatment for moisture control. We also need a new sprinkler system that will be required to meet occupancy codes. A new fire alarm system will be needed that will interface with the sprinkler system that's required. And we also need to update all of the entry/exit points to meet ADA standards. So, in addition to completing that study, the design team has been compiling existing plans and elevations. Demolition plans are in progress and will be finalized next month after another site visit. We are also working with one of our consultants to complete a lead, paint, and asbestos report to determine the abatement needs. So, just to bring to your attention for those of you that have not been to this building, we have a lot of problems there. As a result of the study that I just revealed the information, the architect has recommended that we move forward with a stabilization to prevent deterioration of this building. So stabilizing the building means that we would secure and maintain the building from any further damage. So it's important to understand that if the district doesn't act now, it could cost more money in the future to stabilize the building, or it's likely that it could end up in complete disrepair. So the second option could also result in complete demolition, which is not favorable for our community. The estimated stabilization cost is around $2 million at this time, which will be offset in the project budget. So the following items that I have listed is what the architect has deemed necessary at this point just to stabilize the building. We need to demo existing site utilities so we can reroute water for new fire service. We need to demo some of the unused and badly damaged buildings that we have in the back. Selective demolition on the inside to expose the structure so we can further study that. We'd like to salvage any materials that we can and keep those for the future upfit. We need to restore the masonry. You can see the windows, the restrooms. We have a lot of work to do here. So just to kind of skip forward a little bit, what I described to you in the past slide, this will show you some of the things that we need to do. You can see here are some of the walls that we need to demo just so we can expose that structure and study what we need to. These are the buildings in the back that we need to demo so we can move forward with the possible addition, which is what the board was previously shown in the beginning. So just want to show you that information. And then the last slide, I'll just kind of quickly give you a preview. This is what we have developed as a team so far for our proposed upfit for the project. You can see at the bottom that we're going to add some Head Start classrooms on the bottom floor, create new secured entry points on the sides. And then this is an important feature for you guys, a multi-purpose room that we would like to add to this building, which could be housed as a boardroom. We could use it for community events, any other community gatherings that would be needed for this area. a small catering kitchen in the back, and then a conference room and some workrooms. On the second floor, we'll add some adult education classrooms, which will be serviced by an elevator and new stairways, and then provide a break room for the people that would be in those classrooms. So, as you can see, we have a very interesting project. It has its own unique complexities. The design and the procurement teams understand that there's a gap in this initial budget funding, and we're working on that. Key players of the procurement department, finance, and capital projects are researching the possibility of alternate funding, and it's an ongoing process right now. So we plan to update you and give a recommendation at the May 24th board meeting. Any questions?
May I ask a question?
Go ahead.
I wasn't here when this was first introduced, so I need to ask something. What was the original plan for the building as far as reconstruction?
So this is the original plan.
This is the original plan?
Yeah, this is the original plan that was proposed in the beginning to the
Okay.
selection committee and to the board.
The interior demolition of walls, that could expose even more disrepair, is that correct?
There is a potential for that, yes, that's correct. But we need to do that so we can further study the structure to see if any additional repairs will be needed.
I'm going to jump back a few slides, but Philip Simmons High School, elementary, middle, they're all still on time. Everything's good to go.
Everything is on time and on schedule. We're making it up as we go.
Okay,
So,
good.
yeah.
No, there's just always rumors floating around, so that was
No.
encouraging to see y'all's presentation.
Yeah, the permits to operate are key to getting the school up and running, and if we would achieve those prior to substantial completion, much less we're achieving them before overhead inspection, it's a big plus. We're way ahead of the game.
All right, now back to these slides. It's currently $2.5 million over budget estimated. Is that?
Yes, sir. That's construction cost as well as FF&E to outfit the building.
And so y'all are going to come back in May and tell us what we figured out, whether we're going to be within budget, $2.5 million over, or whether.
Well, what we're still researching, and what Ms. Queen was talking about, we're researching the possibility of some alternate funding sources. It really aren't quite prepared to discuss it in detail at this moment. Realize there are some questions that may come forth that we may not be able to answer at this time. So that's where the May 24th meeting is coming in. So at that point in time, we should have more information in regards to the alternate funding sources, as well as recommendation as far as stabilization.
In terms of the studies that are going to happen between now and the May meeting, how much do you have any estimate as to what will be spent between that time? Because, I mean, those studies could reveal that the best thing is to demolish the building. That's one option, I'm assuming. Do we know how much will be spent between now and then?
As far as the research that we're going to do, we shouldn't spend too much money between this point in time and May 24th.
Okay.
It's majority of it is legwork on our part and research on our part.
Okay.
And I was actually on the selection committee, so I feel like I had a little bit more information than other folks who might feel real surprised. I don't think we were overly surprised by what we found out inside the building. Like, these studies and going through this process was always a part of the process. And so there's a budget to handle this building in the bond referendum, and this is part of that process. So this recommendation is the recommendation of that committee, but if we reveal more, this recommendation, that committee may have to go back again and make another recommendation.
Revisit the decision, yes, ma'am.
And if you put classrooms here, you have different requirements than if you do something else with the building. If you have kids in the building, you have different requirements that cost more money. So I don't feel real surprised, but I feel like some folks feel surprised at where we are with this building. But in that selection committee, we spent time talking about the studies, what they will reveal, and what could happen to the recommendation if that happens. Is that fair?
Yes, ma'am, very
Okay.
fair.
Any other questions? Okay. Then thank you, sir. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Moving on to agenda item number 9, financial services, item for action. IFB 473, PVI request, and Durawatt water heaters.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, and Ms. Blackburn, we have before you IFB 473. It's PVI Conquest and Durawatt water heaters. It is a bid that we put out to standardize the use of water heaters, and something that we can use in repairs, but also new construction, that sort of thing. And so we ask for your approval to award this bid to Thermal Resources Sales for an estimated cost of $181,933.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
I make a motion to approve IFB 473 for PVI Conquest and Durawatt water heaters to Thermal Resource Sales Incorporated for a cost of $181,933 as presented by Mr. Thomas in Finance Agenda Item 9.
Second.
We have a motion to approve IFB 473 for PVI Conquest and Durawatt water heaters to Thermal Resource Sales Incorporated for a cost of $181,933 as presented by Mr. Thomas in Finance Agenda Item number 9. Do we have any discussion? Then all those in favor of this motion, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Tonight, we have the third quarterly report for the funds that Berkeley County Schools receives and spends. As you can tell from the title, it's through March 30, 2016, which means our ideal remaining percentage is 25% left to receive and spend. So I'll kind of target on that number as we go through some of the slides. This is the general fund revenues totaling $238,224,042 as was approved for this year's budget. As you can see, we are 29% yet to receive, so we're a little bit behind the ideal remaining percentage. But some of the reasons for that is in the area of we typically receive the final payments for our fee and lieu agreements by the end of April. We've received a bunch of money already, but the last little bit comes at the end of April. So we're watching that very closely as well, and to make sure we're on target with what we have related to our information from the county. The general fund expenditures, we are 11% above the ideal remaining percentage, which is a good thing because we need to account for the summer accruals, the summer checks that go for teachers that are on a 9-month contract, so we have to budget that. So those will be caught up at the end of June when we pay those checks in July and August. So we're in a good financial shape there related to that percentage point. Usually that is about 8% to the whole budget, so we might have a little bit of deviation there to the good thing, so good part. So, but we'll watch that as we go as well. The federal and state revenues totaling $36 million. We are behind that percentage, but a lot of this is received after you spend it. So a lot of the budgets are, federal grants are approved way after the fiscal year. So we're starting to claim those, and we'll be catching up with that percent. The federal expenditures, again, are high in the area of teacher salaries. So we'll need to have more than 25% left, so which we have. 45%. So again, we'll be watching that. Also, too, in this area, a lot of the funds are carryover. So this is a place we've been in the place before at this specific time in the fiscal year. EIA revenues. This is the money from the 1 cent sales tax that started in 1984. You can see we're 41 yet to receive. A lot of these funds don't start quite on time. So that's one of the reasons it's behind the ideal remaining percent. And we will catch up by the end of the year. On the expenditure side for EIA, these also include a lot of salaries for 9-month employees, teachers, and the like. So we do want to have that more than 8% deviation from the ideal remaining percent. But you can also tell we're at 44%. One of the other reasons we're not at 44 is we're starting to book. We get money for teacher salary increase and related fringe, which gets transferred to the general fund. They offset the teacher salary schedule. So we're just starting to book that as well. And so we'll be on target with that. Capital projects. This group of accounts are largely the referendum and capital improvements that you approve every year or that are expended every year. And this is also a continuum of revenues and expenditure from 2012 on, because we kind of wanted to kind of keep it a running total. We're actually looking at some software that is actually going to help us with that, so we don't have to pull more years together to get this information. You can see we're 41% yet to receive, and that's largely the last part of the referendum that we will issue next year. And y'all will be passing a resolution in June to do that. The expenditure side, again, is the balance to expend is 56%. A large part of that is Philip Simmons High, Tanner Foster Creek, and Fox Bank. So we're right on target with that. Food service. Yep. Must put new batteries in this thing. The revenues for food service come from local and federal sources, mostly. The local sources are just paid lunches and breakfasts from adults and or students. The majority of this budget comes from free and reduced applications that we collect every month and send to the State Department of Education and federal government for reimbursement later. So we are at 40% yet to receive, but it is a look back that we send in the reports, and there might be a month or 2 months behind paying us. So, that's why that's a little bit not at the ideal remaining percent. The expenditures for food service are at 37%. A large part of this is due to the salaries that we have left to spend and also the booking of commodities at the end of the year. So the bottom line is, based on the ideal remaining percentage, I think we're in a good place. But again, we still continue to monitor that through the last part of the fiscal year and as we get ready for the budget for next year. The next couple of slides are just to remind you of what our current fiscal responsibility and areas of focus have been. But I won't go through those. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
For the food services, can you go back a slide?
Yes.
For the I know we normally do the summer feeding program. Does that come out? Has that already? Have we already paid for that, or do we pay for that out of this?
That'll be later, but yes, that'll come out of this. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah. We also get money for that from reimbursements too. So, but it will come out of this. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas.
Thank you.
Moving on to agenda item number 10, Human Resources. Dr. Levine, looking at some first readings of policies, rules, and exhibits for revision.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Board Chair Hayes, Superintendent Blackburn, and members of the board. Policies noted under Agenda Item 10 are up for revision as a result of information received from the State Department of Education and also based on our need to update the policies and rules that we have in place. So as a result of this, it is the recommendation of the administration to approve the first reading of policies, rules, and exhibits for revision as listed under Item 10 of the April 26, 2016 Board Agenda.
Mr. Chair, I move that we accept the recommendation of the administration to approve the first reading of policies, rules, and exhibits for revision as listed under Agenda Item 10.
Second.
All right, then we have a recommendation, or we have a motion to approve the recommendation of the administration to approve the first reading of the policies, rules, and exhibits for revision as listed under Agenda Item number 10. Do we have any discussion? Then all of those in favor of this motion, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. You have your first reading.
Thank you.
Moving to Agenda Item number 11, Instruction and Accountability. Items for action. The Berkeley County School District Capstone Experience and the Color Guard. Dr. O'Gorman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Ms. Blackburn, ladies and gentlemen. We have two action items. The first one, as you said, is our Capstone Experience. This is a course we would like to add to address the South Carolina profile of a graduate. The state is also pushing out personalized learning experience. This comes from the college and career ready push from the State Department. So we've had a committee working for about a year and a half on this project. I'm going to introduce Dr. Westbury. She'll come up and she chaired the committee. It was a district-wide committee, and she's going to talk about what they came up with. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. O'Gorman. Chairman Hayes, Superintendent Blackburn, and members of the board. We sat down and had a conversation about the 21st century profile of a graduate and 21st century graduate in college and career readiness skills. And we thought about how are we going to accomplish this? So the purpose of coming up with a capstone experience is to fulfill the South Carolina profile of a graduate. We looked at our current curricula to see and the soft skills that we're teaching, how much of this are we actually already addressing in our current curricula? And unfortunately, it's not all of it. So we wanted to sit back and take a look and see how we could actually prepare our students for what comes after high school. So when we looked at the profile of a graduate, a lot of the world-class skills and the world-class knowledge we are addressing in our curriculum. We do use a lot of collaboration and teamwork and critical thinking and problem solving. We do that. But when you look at the life and career characteristics, how do you measure that? How do you measure students' self-direction and their perseverance and their work ethic and their interpersonal skills? So we wanted to develop something that we thought would work for all of Berkeley County students. So who is we, first of all? It was definitely a team approach. And would members of the committee please stand up? We had Sonia Addison Stewart, who could not be here tonight, Tana Lee, Laura Garner, who could not be here, Patricia Weig, Peggy Washington, Angela Burnett, and Mike Timko, Dr. Juan Edmondson, and myself. So we had representation from across the county. We met once a month for a year and a half to develop this curriculum for Berkeley County schools. And we had representation from guidance, administration, district, CTE, everybody. So what did we focus on? We wanted to look at, first of all, how are we going to deliver this curriculum? And so we looked at currently, we wanted to use something that was affordable, right? Well, what is more affordable than free? We currently have STEM Premier in our schools, which is a digital platform, and it is free for all of our students. So let's make use of what we have and take a look at that tool. The portfolio challenge was to ensure that we selected items that could be demonstrated the skills necessary found in the profile of the graduate, but they had to be something that was accessible to all students, not just Cane Bay students, not just Goose Creek students, but also Cross and Timberland, and we wanted to make sure that all students could be successful and this was attainable for all kids. So we chose a digital portfolio because it was something that could follow the students beyond high school. Employers are asking for it already. Let's help provide it. This is part of that college and career readiness. Colleges are accepting digital portfolios for student submissions. So let's use the skill that we have available now and build upon it. And it's also going to be accessible to them when they transfer. If they transfer within the district from one school to another, it still exists. It's there. So it's not something that students lose and they have to start over no matter what school they go to. So we like the idea of transferability. We needed to make sure that we had lots of options and even more options. So parents would have to be made aware of the course, and the options would of course be discussed at the very beginning during IGP meetings every year. We have these meetings with our parents every year in high school about college and career, what are the next steps and planning for the future. This can become part of that conversation, and they can see the usability of what we're giving our students. This way, progress can also be monitored at home. Because it's digital, they can log in and see what's going on and where their kids are in this process. Parents in our communities will be able to see the direct ties between what students learn in school and those next steps. And we always say we're most concerned about what comes next, preparing our students to be truly college and career ready. I know at Cane Bay, I tell my students all the time, I'm not worried about you graduating. Grades 9 through 12, you're mine, and you're going to graduate if I have to sit on you. It's what comes after that that keeps me up at night, to make sure that we're preparing you for that next step to be successful, however you define that success. So this way we can have parents more involved in some of that decision making as well. The content, the team decided we needed to have required subject and then choices, menu options that they could pick from, and that gives it that accessibility. Some of the things that we already do in school, we are looking at SCOAS and career assessments because we want to build upon what kids want to be when they grow up. Work Keys credential, they test in high school. All students take it. And that credential, whether they credential at bronze, silver, gold, or platinum, employers are already using that. So, for example, I've had graduates that have come back and said, can I get a copy of my score again, my certificate? Because at Bosch, they got a $2 an hour raise for having a gold certificate in Work Keys. So we know that regionally this is already being utilized by employers, and we think that it's going to grow even more. Job shadowing experiences, I think it's very important for students to be able to see what's out there. Resume, cover letter, interview, transcripts, IGP, references, college and industry tours. I can't tell you how many students have never toured the school that they're going to apply to or even know what jobs are in an industry, so they don't know what's in there. And we need to open their eyes to what's out there. You know, my 9-year-old said it best to me when my 15-year-old talks about what she wants to be when she grows up. And my 9-year-old says to me, Mommy, what will I be good at? And I said, well, honey, you haven't even figured that out yet. And she said, what do you think you'll be good at? And she said very astutely, I don't know what's out there. You're right. We need to expose them to those things. And then they have to have written reflections for everything that they do. We have to see that they're actually thinking about these things. And there are rubrics. Menu options, they have to pick 4, whether it be service or leadership roles, industry certifications, interviews, internship, apprenticeship, co-op, career-related employment, organizational PD, whether it's conferences or conventions or competitions like our robotics kids that were in here today. That's amazing learning experience that they get when they go on those trips. Club memberships, test prep courses, scholarship applications. We want to make them fill them out. It's amazing how many scholarships go without many applications. So if we make that part of it, it's going to be an enticement. And I know we have scholarship parties, and I literally hand students applications. This is due to me tomorrow. You must bring this to me. Yes, ma'am. And then they have to have reflections written for all. When would we do this? We would start at grades 9 through 12. You start it in the 9th grade. So it's something that you build over the 4 years that you're in high school. The question is, if you transferred into our district in the 10th grade, could you still do it? Yes, because all those requirements are there. But we want to build it in grades 9 through 12. And at the school choice is how it's implemented. So we've talked about this at our principal PLCs and what it would look like. My mentorship program at Cane Bay High School might look different than one does at Stratford or one does at Timberland. So somebody say, I might want to put this as part of my English curriculum. I want to add it in. That's fine. I'm going to add it in as far as my mentoring Cobra Connections group because we teach these lessons every month anyway. So it's somebody there that can follow this curriculum for our students. And we assess as we go. So it's digital, it's uploaded, it's easy to check it out and see where we're going. And they earn a Carnegie unit at the end of their 12th grade year when the portfolio is completed. It's a lot of work that they're putting into it. So we would like for them to earn a credit. So it's important to note future plans of this. We're taking a look at an honors delineation, and the reason for that is because if a CP student, the GPA race is on starting in grade 9. It is. And if you take a look at, for example, I can tell you in my freshman class, I had 60-some kids first semester, straight A's. Those 60-some kids also had straight A's in middle school and their high school credit classes. So my child, who is straight A's, is ranked 20. It's great. It's fine. But those children are not going to take a CP-weighted class that's going to bring down their GPA. And we want all of our children to do this course. Now, it's a choice if they want to do it or not. You can't make them do it because it's only going to benefit them in the end. But if they choose to do it, which a lot of these children will, we don't want it to be a deterrent that the CP graded weight will bring down a GPA. So if you look at the grading scale, for example, a college prep 100 is at a 4.875, but an honors is a 5.375. Well, if their GPA is already above 4.875, which a lot of them are, they're not going to do the class because it would bring it down. Now, we did develop rubrics. That was the biggest challenge for all of us once we came to a consensus about what should go into this curriculum, was developing the rubrics for every single assignment that a non-English teacher could grade. And we spent many months doing that, coming to consensus and actually testing it with product and samples and what we're doing with it to make sure that it's a quality product. We knew that some students might have difficulty with job shadowing or industry tours. That's why we allowed virtual options, okay, and college tours, because you can do virtual tours with a lot of industries and they'll learn just as much about them. So we tried to make it fair for everybody. The team decided that some experiences should be senior only, like resume and transcripts and that type of thing, so we delineated those. We wanted to make sure that it was worthwhile doing, that everybody would invest in creating this quality product that they're going to take with them when they exit high school. Any questions?
Just so I'm clear, they're not actually attending a class.
No, ma'am.
So who is assessing?
Well, it depends on the school's plan for rollout. So, for example, I know one school wanted to put it in their English curriculum, so then the English teacher would be assessing that along the way. In our school, we have what's called Cobra Connections, and we meet every month with those students, and we're teaching them these lessons anyway. So in 9th grade, we have some career exploration lessons that are already there. In 10th grade, we do a lot of ACT prep, and we do that in 11th grade, and then by the second semester, 11th grade, we're working on the resumes and those types of things. So this is already happening there. So it would go on like a 9th class, which is where our Cobra Connections already shows up on our master schedule. I have a group. I would be grading my kids. I get the knucklehead boys that nobody really wants. That's kind of like my favorite group. And I would be making them do this stuff along the way as well. So it's easy to assess throughout the year. It would be built into those Cobra Connections lessons for us, and then it's just a digital upload.
So those lessons now, they're being assessed?
Currently, no ma'am. It's not a class, a grade. It's a mentoring project, and we designed it each grade level based on where progressing through college and career ready when they exit, to make sure that we're trying to get them ready. But this gives them hard copy things that they're actually doing and producing to create a digital portfolio. And that would be the difference. Right now, we're just talking about and teaching things, but now the kids are going to have to go do.
Yeah, I appreciate this, and I think it's wonderful. I guess I'm always going to split hairs about this free thing.
About what, ma'am?
Free. Because when you talk about teacher time, that's not free, and they don't have any more to add to their days. And so that chafes me, you know.
I understand.
But I totally get it. I understand it's about the students. And I love all the choice that you have in, but I think we have to be really careful about how we talk about the time investment. Your time is pretty expensive too as a principal.
Yes, ma'am. And in our setting, we already have this mentoring program set up where they're spending this time with these kids. In the program, in our school, for example, every guidance counselor has a group. No teacher has more than about 12 kids in their mentoring group already. So it's not like they have a class of 30. I think I've got like 15 knuckleheads in my group. It kind of grows. But that's who we have. And so we've had this structure now for multiple years. And the process of that was under High Schools at Work and developing those relationships, so they keep the same kids for 4 years. So they'll have those same kids for 4 years to really get to know them and have an advocate outside of their regular schedule, which we're supposed to have a mentoring program for all of our children in our building. Some schools would like to incorporate it in English. Like we know in our junior English, we put in college essays in the junior English assignments. So they would be ready by the time they're seniors. When they get ready to start applying for colleges, they've got essays already written.
So the idea that this would be an honors credit above that English credit they're already receiving.
Yes, ma'am. Only because you have so many kids who wouldn't take it, wouldn't do the work otherwise, because it could negatively reflect on their GPA. Our hope is also that if we can get this approved, that we can then petition the state to help this become part of a CTE completer, because that would help us with funding and making sure that it's another 4th credit in the CTE pathways to be a completer for our students.
I think just something maybe it came up in your discussions. I know in some academic magnet schools, they actually have those business partners as mentors who are assessing their work. And so we might really need to think about how to engage some of these business partners in more of a professional.
We did talk about that, but if you think about, and this is this conversation, like we knew that at Timberland and Cross, they can get partners in to work with those seniors' portfolios, but if I've got 460 of them, the time that it's going to take them to go through all of those and grade on the rubrics and teaching them how to grade on the rubric is a little bit,
Schools do make it work, however, and you said it depends on the school and how they build this in.
Yes, ma'am.
To their curriculum. I wouldn't want to not, tap into some of that, if it's possible, because they are the ones hiring. And what better way for them to see what these students can produce?
Thank you.
Dr. Westbury, I did not see Hanahan listed in your PowerPoint. Did they have an opportunity to have some input?
At the very beginning. Yes, sir.
Okay, so they were at the table. It sounds like a great idea.
So was Cross, and it just became a timing of who could be there when.
But everybody had the chance to be a part of this decision.
Sir.
All right, thank you. I really like the personalized learning portion of it as well.
We did discuss this extensively in our principal PLCs.
Perfect.
And go through every aspect of it, and that's where some of the principal feedback also came when we made some adjustments.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Westbury. I also want to thank the members of the committee. I saw some of you wince when she said rubric. It must have been a painful process to develop some of those. But thank you again for your work. With that, Mr. Chair, members of the board, I'll turn this over to you for approval. We recommend you approve this course to be a locally approved course.
motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the Berkeley County School District Capstone Experience as a locally board-approved course for elective credit as presented under Agenda Item 11A.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve the Berkeley County School District's Capstone Experience as a locally board-approved course for elective credit as presented under Agenda Item 11A. Do we have any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I think we are moving in the right direction. I think this will help students, and I know you have to integrate it and work it within your system, but I believe it can work. And I think it would benefit many of our students if we go forward with this.
And Kathy, I guess, or this is just a general question, but if it is too taxing on teachers, we can always revisit this at some later date too, so that we're protecting them if we need to. Is that an option for us?
Do I have your promise?
No,
I feel like I said, it's just a chafe I have. We're expecting professional products out of these students. We need to treat our teachers professionally and not assume that every time we bring something to the table, no matter how wonderful and forward-thinking it is, we've got to protect the teacher's time and do this. It sounds like we're doing it slowly and methodically, and there's lots of choice in here. I am cool with that. Okay. But I'm always going to be the voice. Every time I hear embedded professional development and that kind of thing, there are still 24 hours in a day.
We keep piling more and more on that plate, and we're not taking anything off.
For my entire professional career, yes.
Absolutely. and the compensation, the lack of compensation is another conversation that needs to be had. I couldn't agree more with you, Mr. Schwabe.
Well, I agree with you, too. We do not want to burden the teachers, and we don't want to put more on their plate than they can handle. But this is a program that I think can work if it's handled right on the local level, and each school should come up with a plan that it would not be a burden on the individual teachers.
Any other discussion? All right, this time then, we'll take a vote. All of those in favor of this motion, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thank you. The next one is not near as exciting.
I disagree. This is a great course.
It is a great course. Thank you, Dr. Murray. It's not about the course at all, though.
Oh,
it's about a code number. That's it. While doing an internal audit, preparing for a state audit, we found that the course code was not appropriate for color guard. It was actually coded as a band course. That's not appropriate. So we've been teaching this course for ever and a day in Berkeley County, and all we need to do is change the course number to be a locally approved course, and nothing is changing in our schools. They're doing the same thing. We're just changing the number in Power School to be a locally approved course for Color Guard 1 through 4. So I submit that to you for approval.
Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve Color Guard as a locally board-approved course for fine arts credit as presented under Agenda Item 11B.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve the Color Guard as a locally board-approved course for fine arts credit as presented under Agenda Item 11B. Do we have any discussion? And all of those in favor of this motion, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, Dr. O'Gorman, 2 for 2. And moving to Agenda Item number 12, the Superintendent's Report, Strategic Plan Update, and Budget Priorities.
Thank you, Chairman Hayes. I'm going to go to the podium as I'm part of this presentation, and I'll speak with you from there. So I'd like to remember that I'd like for you to remember that I've shared this little brochure with you. Believe it or not, it was 6 months ago. So it was called Listen and Learn, a Strategic Approach to Continued Excellence. And I've had 6 months to work on that. And actually tonight we're going to be talking about where I am in that part of my assimilation into Berkeley County School District. But we're going to start out tonight thinking about the 2015-2016 strategic plan, because the very first thing that I did was really a part of the pre-entry to my entry plan, and it was to review every single thing that I could find that had to do with Berkeley County School District. In fact, my first introduction to you all was to watch you on the videos, and Diane can tell you that I hounded her about posting them as quickly as possible after the meeting so that I could stay in the know about what you were doing. There are not a lot of people who watch board meetings for pleasure, but I was watching you for pleasure. Now I'm having to work, so it's a whole different story. Early in phase 1 of my entry plan, I learned about your 2015-2016 strategic plan with its focused areas and its priority focus areas. Along with the entry plan, I'll come back and talk about that later. But tonight, I would like to let you know that one of the things that I did is to adopt your 2015-2016 strategic plan as a responsibility for my leadership. And first of all, I want to take you back to July of 2015. And there was a whole different group of people there that summer at the Nexton corporate offices, I guess, over in Nexton, be West Rock now. They changed their name. And you had an opportunity there to talk about strategic direction for 2015-2016. Dr. Turner was there. Many of you were there. Many of the senior cabinet were there. And you came to some conclusions about what was really important for 2015-2016 Berkeley County School District. I would like to compliment you for the great plan that you developed, and especially for the organizational and implementation structure that was already in place when I got here. So I can take no credit. Your leadership and the hard work of the cabinet that's sitting to my right this evening, as well as Dr. Turner, who's not with us tonight, did a really great job of getting this moving in the right direction. You made this an action-based document that we can take a look at and decide, did we do it or did we not do it? Tonight's presentation is really what I would consider a mile-high overview of where we are today with the plan and with the focus areas. First, and importantly so, it met the expectation of Advance Ed. This was a document that our visiting team looked at very, very closely, and as you know, you passed with flying colors. It was a key part of that process that led to our district accreditation by that organization. Tonight, I have asked the cabinet goalkeepers if they would share some level of detail about the areas that you identified as priority focus areas, and then to talk briefly using a scale of complete, in process, or ongoing for the other focus areas of the strategic plan. We are open to any questions, but we didn't want to spend a lot of time going through all the detail of the action plans that were behind each of these focus areas tonight. When the 6 goal areas have been presented, then I'll come back and use the same format to talk to you about the rest of my entry plan into Berkeley County School District. And we're going to start out with Goal 1, Dion Jackson.
Thank you, Ms. Blackburn. Good evening again. Goal 1, there we go. Goal 1, positive school climate. We will provide a safe, orderly, and healthy schools to ensure positive and caring learning environment. The focus areas were implemented with the assistance of the District Safety and Security Officer, the Office of Maintenance and Facilities Department, the Office of Technology, and also the Executive Director of Secondary Schools and the Director of Elementary Schools. Moving to the focus areas. The first focus area at the top, secure the safety of students and staff in our buildings that foster a caring learning environment. label it as still in progress and ongoing. Label it as still in progress and ongoing because we can never be complete. This is an ongoing activity. Some of the things that we've done, we've invested over $4 million over the past two and a half years on access controls and storefronts, adding additional surveillance cameras, sprinkler systems, and additional SROs, things of that sort. The next focus area to provide quarterly reports on new construction, renovations, and capital projects. We just witnessed that tonight, and as we are not completed, that is still in progress and ongoing. The next one, maintain relationships with local government agencies, municipalities, and stay abreast of current plans and strategies for emergency management. Again, that is in progress and still ongoing. We have a great relationship with our local municipalities in emergency management. They participate in our drills and things of that sort. And the last one is conduct professional development sessions regarding disaster preparedness and crisis management for schools and district level staff. And we have quarterly safety reports. We conduct annual trainings and updates for our school administrators as well as our district level staff.
So goal 2 is high student performance. And we have a priority, district priority number 1 is under high student performance. And obviously this is regarding instruction. So priority 1 was to provide information and support to students, parents, and educators in the greater community about newly adopted standards and assessment systems and the impact they have on instructional programs. As you all know, adopted new standards yet again this year. We just received those last March, so almost a year ago. It's really the third set of standards we've had in the last 3 years, and that was quite a daunting task. So one of the first things that we had to do was create new curriculum. And so on average, we've got about 7 units for math and for ELA for grades K through 12. So 7 units in math, K to 12, 7 units in ELA, K through 12, on average. So we pushed those UPOs out, unit planning organizers out to teachers and started that work after we got the standards, learned what those standards were. We had to create those and try and get them ready for August. And I've been creating those as the years and revising those as the years have gone on, creating feedback loops so that teachers can tell us what they think about the curriculum, what they need to change, how's the pacing going, and that kind of stuff. The next was new assessments developed to address new state standards. This was probably the hardest thing for us to do. We didn't know at the start of the school year what our new assessment was going to be. In fact, we didn't find out what it was until about December. We didn't get blueprints on what that test was going to be until January or so. We thought the assessment was going to continue to be Aspire, but as we all know, it was SC Ready. So we really didn't have a framework of reference for these. So we had to go through each standard and develop assessment items and push those out for teachers to use. Parent universities, we had planned to do workshops for parents about the new standards and the new state assessment system. We waited until the spring to do that. We've done 3 of those specific to standards and assessments just in the last couple of months. We've had some throughout the year through our special education program and Title I program. As well. We also took a new strategy through social media. Directors and content coordinators have created Twitter accounts and that kind of thing to push out information as we get it. I know some of you have tweeted or retweeted some of the stuff that we've done. We modified the IGP process to align to the new program of study. The state has revised some of its coursework, and so we've had to go back and change our program of study, which impacted the IGP process. To align to those new state courses, align to the new standards. And we've had a lot of folks participating in Cradle to Career initiatives, Transform SC, and local chamber activities. Transform SC is really at the state level the mind behind the profile of a graduate, and they're also creating, with the State Department, in partnership with the State Department, personalized learning pathways. And so we have a lot of folks participating on that so that we're educated on the front end about what's coming down to the school system. And then with the Berkeley Chamber and the Charleston Metro Chamber of Commerce, we work to recruit academy partners and things of that nature. Several of us also participate in the Cradle to Career initiatives. I'm sure you've seen the recent report that they pushed out, and so we're working with them in that capacity as well. So a lot of what was in that district priority is actually spilling over into our areas of focus, supporting teachers in those new standards I've talked about. The emphasis on instructional strategies aligned to the profile of a graduate. Obviously, Dr. Westbury just spoke about the capstone project. That was one of those items. Certainly, the training that we are pushing out to address STEAM at the Philip Simmons, Daniel Island, and Kane Hoy schools. The use of technology in the classroom, so on and so forth. The next is establish a system at the school and district level for evaluating the effectiveness of PLCs. We spent some time creating a rubric that administrators could use to observe PLCs and evaluate them. We're also working with Hanover Research to do a independent evaluation of PLCs and our implementation of that at the end of this year. And then that last one I've already spoken to, partnering with regional partners. We've got about 74 academy partners now district-wide, but we've added about 31 this year. So we're continuing to add businesses to come into our schools and work with us in that capacity. Okay, community engagement.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Goal number 3, community engagement. We will build family, community, and business support that will generate advocacy for our schools and our district. There were a lot of people involved in this goal, from superintendent, members of the cabinet, communications department, instruction accountability, director of elementary schools, and others. As you can see there, we will capitalize on our existing partnerships and continue to grow those partnerships. That's in progress, and it is ongoing. And the superintendent, since she's arrived, has met with many elected officials as well as members of the clergy and businesses, teachers, parents, and other leaders in our community. Our schools have added 90 new business partners since this time last year. To collaborate with our stakeholders, that is in progress. We've been very strategic in stakeholder group development. We're still working on that. Cabinet and district officials have been working with our principals and assistant principals and teachers, as well as parents and community members. We'll be bringing forth a final draft to you of the strategic plan in the coming months. In early childhood, that is in progress and ongoing. We are working closely with parents in our early grades to ensure that the social, emotional, and academic readiness of our students is met. For example, currently we have 960 students in 48 child development education classes across the state, and across the district, and we serve 568 students in 32 Head Start classes. We will provide effective quality programs to recognize those that are doing great things in our school district. That is in progress. As you know, we bring several people to the board for recognition that have made contributions to our school district, be they individuals, teachers, or businesses. We've hosted the Turnaround Achievement Awards for our students, and we are working with the Berkeley Chamber of Commerce to recognize students at the Breakfast of Champions next month. And to prepare and submit a Head Start grant. That is complete. That's probably the only thing that's on our goal sheet that is absolutely complete. That grant has been submitted in December, and we are waiting with fingers crossed that we're going to get the new award in the very near future.
Good evening again. We are going to recruit, retain, develop quality teachers, administrators, and staff, and I cannot take credit for this, as I always tell you all, that there's really a team. Have fabulous team members. I'm Dr. McLaren here with the Evaluation and Leadership Office. Also have Julie Rogers, who works very closely with me, and then we have several members of the HR team who are very instrumental in making these things come to fruition. Implementing the new South Carolina evaluation system, as you all know, and we talked last year about it being a bevy of alphabet soup in terms of some of the new things that were on the horizon. I can tell you right now, of course, it's a work in progress and it's ongoing, and Dr. McLaren and her team really doing a fabulous job there of supporting our teachers and making sure especially that our first-year teachers get exactly what they need. If you look at the second one as well, refining the professional development opportunities for all groups in terms of staff members, and we're working towards that. We had 150, I believe, brand new teachers who are doing a fabulous job. We have time-release mentors who are working directly with them, but we still know and understand that it's a work in progress and it's also ongoing. And also we're looking to enhance our recruitment efforts, and you see Julie, I know all the time, Shelley Green all the time out and about, and we have attended a number of recruitment events. And of the 20 or so that we can mark this year, I can tell you right now that recruitment happens more at just the college locations and the actual events because you all are helping us recruit, because I know you all give us the name of some people sometimes that we need to pursue, and that is definitely part of our recruitment. So that is in progress, and it's also ongoing. The hiring plan that's mentioned that over the next 5 to 10 years, I don't have to tell anyone that we're growing in leaps and bounds, and as a result of that, we are going to need teachers, staff members in all areas, so we know we have to plan for that. So we have some of the plans in place for it right now in terms of what we do as far as onboarding for the hiring and everything with new schools, and we're continuing to work and develop that, so it is definitely in progress. And the last part, not the very last one, we have another one on the next page, but respond to noted areas for advanced ed. There was one particular area mentioned in terms of the support staff and making sure that we're using our human resources in a way that we can get the maximum benefit. So that's definitely ongoing. And then the final one, something that we mentioned last year also and focused on quite a bit at the retreat last summer, was about making sure that we look at what we're doing in comparison to the other district in the areas, because we want to have that competitive edge, and we want folks to choose Berkeley County. So we're constantly working on that, and I'm working directly with Brantley and his team on that right now, so we can have an idea for what things will look like for next year in terms of what the other districts are paying, because we know that is very, very crucial to the recruitment process and also retaining teachers. We don't want teachers looking and saying, well, I can go right next door and drive a couple of miles more because the salary is so much different there. So we're working on that, and we understand that's something that we need to focus on quite a bit. So thank you for your time, and now we will go to Goal 5 with Mr. Brantley Thomas, Fiscal Responsibility.
Thank you, Glenda. Mr. Chair, members of this board, Goal 5 is fiscal responsibility. We will be responsible stewards for our resources and ensure that we provide a quality education for all students. The first one is continue to provide transparent information and support to the educational process for students in Berkeley County School District. Back in 2011 or 12, the state of South Carolina required all school districts to post transparent information on our website, and we were the first school district to actually comply with that. So the state used our example for a lot of school districts to get their stuff out there. We also provide information related to budget, financial studies, those sorts of things, which are on our website as well. Continue to receive an overall unmodified opinion to ensure the financial stability of the school district, and continue to use audit results to determine professional development needs. As you know, we're required to have an external audit every year by an independent auditor, and they were just here about 2 weeks ago to do some compliance work and some preliminary testing. And so that result of that compliance recently revealed very little findings in the area of the things that they were tested, so that's a good thing. We also do school audits of all of our different schools related to procurement card, related to things that they do on a random basis of about a third of our schools, but if somebody asks us to come, for whatever reason, Glenda used the word pursue, so we might be pursuing. Continue to implement policies to support an adequate fund balance while providing exceptional financial value based on per-student, pure people funding. As you know, we updated our fund balance policy a couple years ago, and as a result of the last few audits and that presentation that Mr. Finney does, we are above the recommended GFOA, and we'd like to, as we develop every single budget, we also need to be cognizant of what that new target might be for the added new expenditures. Also, too, this comment relates to several actions, but as you remember in some of the presentations, our state rank being 67th as far as per student expenditure, but ranked 24th as far as academic ranking, so we wanted to share that as well. Provide the board and community with long-range budget forecasting based on criteria related to local and state funding and local economic growth for future budget planning purposes. We will also incorporate that information into our budget purposes and comparative financial data. That what I just talked about related to the previous action step related to, also speaks to that. Also, if you remember, one of the comments in our last audit was developing a long-range planning budget tool that I can use to maybe project out maybe 5 to 10 years. And so I've been working on that document, and the auditors just tested that when they were here recently and liked what they had seen. I had basically used the information from the Strom Thurmond Institute study to develop that tool with using that tool, and that's been a very productive document to have. We also have been having quarterly meetings with the county related to getting information on assessments or fee and lieu, those sorts of things. And also we had a delegation meeting recently, and so we're continuing to do those kinds of things that will help us provide forecasting information and just general information about how those things impact Berkeley County schools and the state actually. Continue to maintain a positive professional relationship with our bond rating agencies by providing information with respect to growth and challenges related to Berkeley County schools. We have continued to do that. In fact, a couple years ago, we got a rating upgrade from Standard & Poor's, and also as a result of that relationship, we were able to refund 2 bonds over the last 3 years and save $27 million on one and 18 on the other. So that relationship has huge financial impact to the bottom line related to our debt structure.
Brantley, on that point, real
Yes.
quick, I've gotten a couple calls from folks. It sounds like that Charleston County, the county may have done an RFP recently for bond counsel. And I know last night at Berkeley County Council's meeting, they recently, I think they're planning to do an RFP for bond counsel and financial advisors. Is that something we've done recently or that we could at least consider?
We could consider, but I think the relationship that you have with your FA, your financial advisor, and your bond attorney has served us well to have that relationship long-term. I kind of see them as my personal doctor. I wouldn't want to change every 4 or 5 years because this has happened to other school districts, other agencies, about getting the wrong person. They're not constantly watching out for refunding opportunities or best time to go to market, those kinds of things. But it's something we can consider, but it's not something we've done in the past. So.
The procurement code does not require you to bid those services.
Yes, that is exempt
right.
from procurement code, yes. And the final is create a 10-year comprehensive facilities management plan as compared to the strategic planning process for 16-17. As you know, part of the growth study and the recent consultant that we hired to do some studies related to growth in there, we are actually in progress working on that as well.
And our final goal is effective communications. We will develop, refine, and implement an effective communication plan for our school system. This was a second of our district priority goals. Berkeley County School District will enhance efforts to communicate effectively with parents of current and prospective students. We will take a proactive approach to convey school district information to build parental awareness and advocacy for district initiatives. We have commissioned a communications audit to identify and enhance the best practices. That audit has been received by the superintendent, and we are currently in the process of utilizing the results of that audit to evaluate the organization of the communications department, to capitalize on our strengths, and to develop a strategic plan for the future to ensure that we provide effective two-way communication between the district and all of our stakeholders. The second one, expanded district social and digital media practices to include crisis communication and video communication. We have revised our emergency protocol. We provided professional development for staff in our schools and also at the district level. We work closely with the Safety and Security Office at the school district, as well as local law enforcement and emergency preparedness agencies to improve our response time to any crises that we have. We've implemented the use of YouTube and other video productions to share information about the district, and we recognize the need to continue to stay current with all forms of communication utilizing social media. Just don't ask me to tell you what all those are or to use them. Parent University has been rebranded and publicized. You've heard Dr. O'Gorman mention Parent University already. What we've done this year with the Communications Department and the Instruction and Accountability, as we go out into our school district, into our schools, and the school district staff are providing workshops and seminars for parents, we're putting that under the umbrella of Parent University, so that whenever parents hear that term, they know that it's going to be something to benefit them and for their children. So the purpose of the Parent University is to ensure that parents have information and resources for their child to succeed in and out of school. The district supports the teacher and every parent by offering workshops, seminars, and events that connect parents and guardians with schools in a positive and meaningful way. Enhanced relationships with local and regional media. The members of the Communication Department visited local media outlets early in the academic year to foster better relationships and to maintain regular contact with them. Regular contact is made with the local media. However, in the future, our goal is to make that contact more thoughtful and proactive and purposeful instead of primarily reactionary. Developing One Berkeley Goes Back to School Festival. We are currently in the process of developing the One Berkeley Goes Back to School Festival that will be held here in Moncks Corner on Saturday, August the 13th, to provide backpacks and school supplies for children and to generate excitement among students, parents, and the community about the 2016-17 school year. We expect to have local government, community agencies, and businesses partner with us to provide an event that is not only informative for parents and students, but also fun-filled. Communicate effectively with faculty, staff, and stakeholders through multiple and varied communication vehicles. That is in progress and ongoing. We, as you know, we utilize In the Loop, press releases, and media alerts and other ways to communicate. We also use email and telephone call-outs for our internal and external stakeholders. Energize the relationship between the Berkeley County School District, elected officials, and local regional agencies, for example, the Chambers of Commerce, the Council of Governments, Red Cross, to create a clear and open line of communication and efficacy and strategic planning that is in progress and ongoing. Ms. Blackburn has established regular meetings with the county supervisor, as we're in the process of scheduling meetings with local mayors for next month. And she and members of the cabinet have met with the local legislative delegation. We have representation on both boards of the local chambers of commerce, both the Berkeley and the Charleston Metro Chamber, as well as the Workforce Development Committee of the Berkeley Chamber's Berkeley Forward Committee. We also have representation on the Tri-County Cradle to Career, and the superintendent is actively involved in the newly formed Low Country Superintendents Consortium. And of course, we continue to work closely with the Council of Governments, Red Cross, and Emergency Management. Provide communication training for staff and personnel. We've conducted media liaison training for school-level personnel, as well as training for the effective use of social media and the district's website. Foster effective communication to support board member responsibilities. As you know, we began the year at the retreat. We had the board workshop on boardsmanship with Scott Price from the South Carolina School Boards Association, and the superintendent has communicated regularly with you, either by telephone, also in person, as well as through email and other communication to keep you informed of what's going on in our school district. Revise the district and school level websites to a version that is user-friendly and serves as a primary source of information that is in progress and ongoing. We've already done one revision. We recognize the fact that it continues to need revision so that it's more user-friendly. We have to put ourselves in the place of our customers, which are our parents and our students in our community, as opposed to us looking at the website and deciding what needs to be there. So we're continuing to work on that. Promote the use of monitoring tools by parents, such as Parent Portal, by advertising and providing in-house training and access to parents. That is in progress and ongoing. We have promoted the use of the Parent Portal in our schools, but also recognize that's a work in progress and continue to make that known to parents as to what's available to them and how to use it.
So I wish there were more things that we could check completed, but the kind of focus areas that were established are the kind of things that I think will be very central to our work, not only this year, but probably every year. But there has been a whole lot of progress made, and a lot of good, solid work has gone into addressing the focus areas that were developed by this board and by the cabinet and Dr. Turner prior to my ever arriving. So I mentioned that it seems like only yesterday, and it does, and so I hope you'll pardon me if I have a little humor in some of the things that I have to share with you for the next couple of minutes. And first of all, I feel a little bit like Dr. Seuss, and I think everybody has a favorite Dr. Seuss book, and mine is "Oh, the Places Well You Will Go." I've been off to some great places. I've been off and away, perhaps with a few unplanned detours. Upon entering Berkeley County School District, I recognized your tradition of excellence, and I said, count me in. And I still feel that way. I think there's so many wonderful things here. I've had an opportunity to be in, I've lost count how many classrooms, but I have been in 44 schools, because I've been in Philip Simmons Elementary and Philip Simmons Middle as well. And every time I leave, I have something astounding that I saw or that I got to be a part of, and have had a lot of fun sharing those through the letters. And I'll talk a little bit about the letters again a little bit later on. From the day, think back, it was August 11th, 2015. I was sitting in my home in Christiansburg, Virginia, and my phone rang. And it was you. And I said, I've been hoping you would pick me. And I have no regrets. And then I said, are you all there? And in retrospect, I said, Brenda, that's got multiple meanings. So anyway, it was quite a day for me, and it has been quite a day ever since. In fact, some of them go on and on and on. I have learned a great deal in pre-entry and entry about the Low Country, and some of these are very serious, and some of them are a little bit less serious, but I'm going to start out with one of my favorite ones. I have found some great places to eat with gastronomical delights, and one place that I like to go happened to publish their recipe for shrimp and grits in the newspaper the other day. I found out why I like it so much. It has 4 cups of heavy cream in the recipe. So I'll tell you which restaurant if you'd like to know. The spirit of caring, it is so prevalent here. It absolutely pervades this organization. The Swamp, I was a little surprised. I lived in Florida for a while, so I wasn't uncomfortable with alligators, but I didn't think about there being alligators here. I lived in Fox Bank for a while, and right behind my house there was a sign that said, "Beware of alligators." I was kind of stunned by that. The lakes, Moultrie, I've looked around Lake Moultrie quite a bit, and it's beautiful. And the old Santee Park, lovely, lovely places within this community. And, the place has something to do, the ambiance of the community that you live in and the opportunities for fun, recreation, and education. They have something to do with your school system. And I've had a chance to see our students participate in very, very positive activities that take place in many of those venues. Cypress Gardens, I haven't gotten to go yet, but I can't wait. And I know it's going to be wonderful when I do get to go there and they're opened again. The pride, like the young men that we were able to honor tonight, there is a lot of pride exhibited in our schools between students and adults. And I think that's a very special thing here. Lost again? Doesn't bother me. In fact, I just say if I haven't been anywhere, if I don't get lost at least one time. Sticking together. It's really important. Sticking together. My latest read, and I actually did find some time to start reading something for pleasure, and I'm reading The Hunt Club by Brett Lott. It was actually given to me by a citizen from the Hanahan area. It's a low country author, and much of it is set in North Charleston area. So I was just amazed that I knew where some of those places were that they were talking about in that book. The traditions. Archie frequently comes and he says, "Do you want to do this?" And I say, "Well, tell me about it." I said, "You know what? I think it's great." So I'm trying to really sustain the great traditions that you have here, because there are things that we need to do that are new and different, but we also need to honor the legacy, as you do, with individuals here in our board meetings, and maintain the good things, the traditions that make Berkeley County a place that people want to be. The greeting. I hope you are doing well. Now, that is a real South Carolina thing to me. I mean, every email, every letter, I get, it starts out with, "I hope you are doing well," or "I hope this message finds you well." And I think the first time I really noticed it was when Amy Murray added my phone number to the call out, and that was what she said. She said, "Good evening, this is Amy Murray. I hope that you're doing well." And so I have become quite accustomed to it, and I've found myself using it. So that means I've been converted. And I could go on and on, but I think that the point is that I see the low country culture in our schools, and I understand it so much more than I did just 6 months ago. In February, you might remember that I shared a video with you, and that was kind of my first reflections, official reflections on the things that I had been seeing and that I had been doing. I'm not going to do a video tonight, but I am going to ask you to take a closer look at the progress that has been made in addressing the things that I told you I would do in the entry plan. So, pre-entry, listen and learn. These are things that I did before my arrival for the most part, but I continue to do them as I have assimilated into the organization over the last 6 months. I have tried to align myself with your mission and vision, to learn about the strengths of the school district, and also to learn about the things that are areas in which you want to grow. I have read everything that I can find about BCSD, past, present, and future, to just try to get a handle on who this organization is and all of the ingredients that make it special. Although I've completed the pre-entry phase, I will continue to incorporate these findings in my work going forward. And I've marked them off, but I've especially noted that this evaluation of strengths, and also by the same token, the evaluation of opportunities that exist for us to improve, needs to be a never-ending process. Phase 2, entry, listen and learn. Entry has focused on what I call being there experiences. So I have tried to be everywhere, and it's been really interesting and has stretched my horizons and sometimes my energy level as well. The purpose was to listen to stakeholders, to listen to teachers, staff, parents, students, and community members so that I could learn, to expand opportunities to learn and be accessible, to start the strategic planning process for 2016-2021. So as you know, I've been logging lots of miles. I hit 13,000 this week since I've been here, starting at 50, and I'm now at 63,000 miles. So I have done quite a few road tours. The numbers of events and the people I've met and listened to won't tell you the whole story, but they do establish the focus of that I've maintained on listening and learning to support our future work together. So I'm going to share some occurrences, some numbers, and quantity is one thing, quality is another, and I've tried to share the quality of the experiences that I've had here in some different ways, but I'm going to share some numbers tonight. I mentioned 44 school tours, and I got to say thank you to Penny. If you ever want a taskmaster, put Penny in charge, let me tell you. By April, I think it was the 15th. No, it wasn't. I didn't quite make it. It was 16, 17, 18. By April the 20th, I had done all 44 schools, and, they were actually, walk through, talk to people, go in classrooms, spend some time chatting with the principal and others in the school. So they were not just drive-bys and wave. They were go in and find out something about this place, and I really learned a lot. I've attended 28 events at our school, including art, music, character education, student exhibit, plays, etc., and 19 special events in the community that were not held in our schools. I accepted 9 speaking engagements, including places like the Kiwanis Club, the Rotary, the Teacher Forum, the Daniel Island Homeowners Association, and others. I held 11 community meetings, including the meet and greets, the realtors, the religious community. I tell you what, I met a lot of people, and I shook a lot of hands, and it was really, really one of the best things that I've done, but I don't remember everybody's name. I'm going to work on that for year 2. The religious community as well, I think we made some great connections with the way that we can join hand with other people and other organizations in our district to mutually benefit our students. I have met and shared with our legislative delegation. I have established routine meetings with county leadership. I have all the mayors scheduled, or Archie helped me schedule all the mayors for the month of May. So I'm trying to, at least have a face and a talking relationship with the people in our districts and in our communities who are decision makers and who also we need to have as advocates for our very positive and growing school system. I participated in 17 meetings with district groups, all kinds of groups. I went to and talked to the librarians one afternoon. I met with a group of teachers at Hanahan High School. I told you when I was talking with you about the potential to come to Berkeley County that I have this bad habit, and that is I say yes. Well, these numbers, if you add them all up, you'll find out I really do have that yes habit. Participated in 6 principal advisory and principal meetings, plus phone calls, emails, and those kinds of things. Participated in 27 meetings with other community leaders. Participated in 26 meetings with business-related community representatives. And those weekly letters. 20 to employees and 20 to the community. In this day and age, how does an outsider, a newcomer, or a person not from here become known? And I ended up choosing, what I think is probably an age-old method for communicating that it currently is somewhat out of vogue, but even though I ended up using an electronic delivery system, they're letters that are written and shared about the things that I have been doing. And in the travels that I have after writing those letters, I almost unilaterally have comments from people that I talk with about who, what, when, where, things that I have done and shared in my letters. And they have helped me, I think, to be real for the people that I'm working with. And I think that that's really important because, real people roll up their shirt sleeves and, get their hands dirty and work together for a common cause. And so I've been very focused on trying to be a real person, which I am. I bleed, believe it. So I'm going to continue those. Sometimes on Friday afternoon I say, Brenda, are you really going to write another one of those letters? And then I start writing and they just kind of flow, so it's been fun. But I'm going to keep doing those as long as I feel like they're serving to connect me to the people who I think really make things happen for our students. So the post-entry Listen and Learn. The new strategic plan for 2016-2021 is in process. You and many others have been a part of it, and it's going to define what's next, the why, the how, the when, and the how much, which is also important. Our future roadmap, just like the one you've just reviewed, it led you to do things that you might not have done otherwise and to think about things in different ways, and that's what a strategic plan is supposed to do. Strategic planning is always huge, but with a community that's poised to grow in 20 years by 20,000 students and double in actual population, in the next 20 years, it becomes an even more important task than it is in a community that is not growing. And tonight, we are closing the 2015-16 plan, wrapping up my entry phase into the district. So now it's time for the really hard work, but the really rewarding work and fun work of imagining the future and what we want our kiddos and our community and making it a reality. So I'd like to thank you and the cabinet and our teachers and staff who've been so very, very supportive of me in the time that I've been here. I'd like to thank you for inviting me here on August the 11th. And, I really am glad that you did decide to pick me. I want to thank you for assisting me in my listening and learning. And, just like everybody else, I've run into some bumps in the road and maybe made a mistake sometimes. But you know what? My mantra is say mea culpa, and I'll try to do better because I'm going to stay focused on moving forward and not looking back, but moving forward. Again, I'd like to thank the cabinet, and I'd like to thank you all for your strategic leadership in developing the 15-16 strategic plan that I've had a pleasure to involve myself with somewhat, and also in completing what I consider the 6-month entry phase to Berkeley County School District. And I would like to invite you to consider attending an event on May the 6th, the Berkeley County Chamber Breakfast. It's their opportunity for us to do an annual report about the progress of the Berkeley County School District. So if you are able to join us that morning, I believe it starts at 7:30. If you would contact Penny, she would be happy to make a reservation for you, and I think it would be wonderful to have some of our board members who would be there to be a part of the conversation that will take place around that community awareness annual report that we do. So please mark your calendars and let Penny know if you can come. And at this time, I certainly would open the floor to any questions that you might have relative to anything I said or to anything that the cabinet members may have said as well.
I'd like to start, first of all, complimenting you, Superintendent Blackburn. You've had a very successful first 6 months, and I certainly would agree that you are real. and it is great to have you here. And anytime you want to go get shrimp and grits, you can give me a call. In all seriousness, a very successful 6 months. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I'll just jump in and say you may have been watching us on video, but what you might not have been able to tell was, and I don't like looking back in the past either, but as I listened to you this afternoon or tonight, I remember looking out at how stressed a lot of people were in this district. And as an English teacher, I learned a new word a couple of years ago, and that word is eustress, E-U, stress. And that's that positive stress that gives us energy to make change and to do things sometimes that we may not want to do. And so as I listen to you, I think about how we've all moved from distress to eustress. And education is hard work, but it can be fun. And I can't thank all of you enough. You have risen to the occasion of a stranger in our midst. And that's not always easy to do. And so I am proud to serve all of you and support you. And I'm very proud of how you're representing us with all of these very important people out there who can help us. And so thank you for that.
Very pleased. Have a little sinus problem tonight. You brought to us a unique kind of leadership, a kind of leadership that I have not seen in Berkeley County, where any superintendent had visited every school. Now, I've seen superintendents visit schools, but not for the purpose in which they visit. And your unique leadership really, I think, brought some unity to us in Berkeley County and on this board. And we're proud of you. Just continue doing what you're doing.
So the purpose of the presentation was not to get any accolades because, you have, shared that you feel we're moving in the right direction in many ways, and I appreciate that. And purpose was to set the stage for us to do some real hard work because we got 2016, 2021 coming before us. And for me to have an opportunity to thank you all for what you've done to get the school district to where it is, because it's a great school district, and I just got here, so I can't take any credit. So thank you so much again for extending the opportunity and for the great cabinet who has taken your work and moved it forward through a lot of stressful situations, not of their own making and out of their control. So, again, thank you. I think we're poised to do some really super things. So,
thank you.
So I'm going to ask Penny if she would move us into the next section, which is the discussion about budget priorities. And I'm just going to kind of lay a background about how we got to this point. First sheet you see, when we had the budget workshop on the 14th, I believe it was, Cabinet and I had done kind of a preliminary list of some things that you might consider as far as priorities, because we have this big, huge top of the funnel, and we're going to have to funnel down to what we actually have and prioritize what we want to do. So there was a list generated of potential priorities, competitive compensation above the mandates that we have this year, special programs, and that included things like choice, arts, Montessori, rural initiative, restoration of items that have been lost during the recession, such as one of the ones that stands out to me is the $800,000 in supplies that go directly to schools and departments. Growth. It's like it's the big thing out there that's just watching to see what we're going to do with it and for it and about it. Support personnel. A number of our schools submitted items like an additional administrative assistant, additional clerical staff. Interventionists was a common theme that came from schools as far as support personnel needs, instructional assistants in some of our schools for various purposes. Enhancing the bus driver's salary to be competitive. Technology coaches. New hire incentives. These are things that I got through conversations that took place either that night or that have been provided to me since then in a conversation or email. And then I left a couple of blanks at the bottom about others. And so what I have requested that the board would do this evening and in correspondence with me through the last 10 days is to kind of give us an idea what's on your mind, because we're going to have to start making this funnel narrow down based on resources. And so I'm going to do two things before I ask you to have a conversation about priorities and to show you what I have put together, compiled from conversations so far. I'm going to ask Brantley if he would come to the podium, because there are a couple of pieces of information that I owe you from the 14th. And one of them that's very, very important is that comparison of salaries to the area in terms of trying to make our compensation plan competitive with the surrounding communities. And so I'm going to ask Brantley, and he's been working on that. And I believe you have a copy in your folder, but it will be very difficult to read in the dim light that we have.
So they have the improved, bigger version. And
yes.
Good. What you have in your packet is our work as of date related to comparing ourselves to Dorchester 2 and 4. What we have done, and in conversation with Ryan, who kind of handles this for us in the Office of Finance, he's developed the new Berkeley County School District schedule based on the 2% cost of living model. We have not gotten a copy of the new Dorchester schedule, so what we've done here is compared our new to the current Dorchester 2 schedule and 4. So if you turn to the second page, I think it's 2 pages or one, the total number comes out to about $4.3 million related to matching ourselves based on that scenario. We will continue to work with Dorchester 2 to get what their proposed salary schedule will be. And as we have been asked to do, they also are being asked to do the cost of living. So if that cost of living is about 2%, this number could grow. But if you remember last year, we did a phased-in aspect of a $3, $4, and $6 million comparative analysis, and we were able to devote the $3 million in. Again, that was with the result of an extraordinary measure of adding the catch-up millage back to last year. We don't have that this year, but we do have the 16-17 millage increase that we have talked about before. And I'm going through, kind of looking through the information that we presented last time at the workshop and kind of working through that presentation and making sure some of the numbers are correct and more up to date. So we'll be sharing that as well later. When we go to that table?
Yes.
Okay.
Then the second, and we'll come back and answer questions about this and talk about priorities, but the second thing that you had asked was about equity. And, equity is a very elusive idea. So what I decided to share tonight was that we would just share the, first of all, the funding mandates and show you if you actually added that where is that number, Brantley?
That's not this table, I'm sorry.
It's not this table. Okay.
Excuse me for Well, this is the table we talked about as far as funding mandates and what.
No.
But that's not it.
We're looking for the one where you subtracted from the revenue. And then you were going to talk about the table per pupil expenditure.
Expenditures, yes.
Yes, two things.
And that's not the table that we subtracted. Let me just go through the presentation.
I think that one was it right there. It showed like $390,000 left at the bottom.
That's it. That's what I thought it was.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So, again, this table I'm revisiting related to the Philip Simmons Elementary, Middle, and the High, related on some revised allocations. But you see the first two items of the STEP and the cost of living as far as what those costs would be to the general fund. And if you were to subtract those off from the available revenue, we don't have a whole lot left as far as being able to decide on. So again, I'm editing and looking at some of the assessment numbers, looking at some revised allocations for growth, but also the elementary and middle schools. So again, this might create some more availability to allow some discussion for other items. So that's basically where we're at right now. We talked about equity in school funding related to per student expenditures.
Mr. Thomas, before we leave this slide, just a point of clarification. Does the total projected revenue include the 3.9 mil potential increase?
It does.
That's heartbreaking. Okay, thank you.
So again, this fiscal year was extraordinary in the fact that we were able to do some catch-up mills, and also, unfortunately, the level of the consumer price index and the population increase for the property tax relief revenue didn't really matter to a whole lot of, $300,000 versus what we've gotten in the past, like over $1 million. So combination of those two things have been maybe causing a little bit of stress here. So, and again, a budget is a work in progress, and we're doing a lot of things to kind of figure out if our numbers are right related to what I have in budget prep. And so there's a lot of things going on trying to get to the bottom line and try to offer what we can offer for next year related to all the needs that we have.
I haven't given up yet, though. Every time I see him, I say, "Did you find some more money, Brantley?" So he hasn't said yes yet, but I'm just hoping that he will. But I think it's really, really important as you look at that to see that off the top of the $18 million, these are funding mandates. The step increase, the 2% cost of living, that's about, $8.9 million into compensation, which is a wonderful thing. But, with limited new money, it does take a major piece of it. And then the other things you're doing with the growth positions, we're going to take a look at least 750 new students, somewhere between 750 and 1,000, that we have to have teachers and all kinds of things for, and then the new schools that are opening. So just a comment that it's still a work in progress.
Correct.
Can you explain, Superintendent, you explained it, I think, last time. I'm trying to look at my notes, but the step increase in 2% cost of living, the mandate isn't an across-the-board mandate. The mandate, it just applies to teachers, or?
You have an index salary schedule, and it's a schedule that I'm not that familiar with, so I'm asked Brantley to comment on it. But basically, the numbers you see up there includes every employee in the district, as it has been past practice in this district, to try to do equitable distribution of potential improvements in compensation.
Correct. For certified staff, we have also had the tradition, we talked about traditions earlier, about applying those things to all the other salary schedules as well. So that's what this number represents.
Do we know how much of the first two items, a step increase and 2% cost of living increase, are actually a true required mandate versus just what we've traditionally done in the past?
I could guess at it, but I'd have to look at it.
Okay.
Probably most of it would be. related to the teacher salary schedule, as that's the majority of our expenditures.
Which would be a true mandate.
Yeah. So, but I would suggest that probably both of those would be.
It might be added
higher.
to that the true mandate, the state still did not fund all of it.
Correct, right, and that was the other point I was going to make. The state is still, the version that's still on the state's website is the House Ways and Means revised version, and so Senate is hopefully looking at hopefully some better numbers from the Office of Revenues and Fiscal Affairs, and I'm hoping that they will see their way to send some of that our way. But again, work in progress, continue to work on it. I was going to make a comment. I missed cabinet yesterday for a family thing, and I told Penny to tell the cabinet not to spend any money while I was gone. So I guess she did that. I don't know. Okay. I hope it was received well. Ms. Blackburn also mentioned per student spending related to equity. Our office has put together a history of student expenditures by school from 2006-07 to now. We are trying to get the 14-15 updated, but traditionally that number has been fairly consistent, just growth and CPI and that kind of stuff related to and student growth. But traditionally, the average for the most current year that I have, the average is around $6,800 on average. And this includes all the expenditures at that school, excluding capital expenditures, because those are different for different reasons. So we wanted to exclude that. But you will have schools that are way above that average. You have 4 schools that are above or right at 10,000 or above. And the reason for that is because they are small schools, and it costs more to operate those schools on a per student basis because of the same infrastructure and staff have to be there related to that school. So I wanted to kind of talk about that level of equity. And I have this spreadsheet, which I can send it to Archie, I believe, earlier, but we can send that out if you'd like to see it once we have it updated.
There are economies of scale, and when you look at schools, and it is more expensive to operate a small school, and we have some, as most communities would. In my previous district, I had 2 high schools that were 1,200, and I had one that was 350 and one that was 275. And there's a huge difference, and so it's very difficult to look at schools one against another and set a measure of equity, because they're not the same. It's just like in a classroom. We're charged with doing something different for every kid to meet that kid where they are. And the same thing is true with the schools in our school district. Our charge is to meet the schools where they are. And so that's what this district has done to this point, and that's what creates the discrepancy in what it costs per student to educate a child.
And the other point to make too is, depending, salaries being 87% of the total budget, one school's level of degreed folks in that school may be a lot higher than other schools as well, so that's going to cause that difference too. So, experience level, yes.
And that's the reason why I use the word equity. Equality should never be the goal of a school board. It is not attainable. If you have a cost per pupil of 10, 11,000 compared to 6,800, that very well can be equitable. Certainly, in my mind, that can be equitable. But we can also group schools together based upon common characteristics. And there should not be that gap if they have common characteristics. So I just want everybody to understand, to me, equity can involve a tremendous gap in cost per pupil. That's why we use the word. Equity is fairness. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Those schools too, the smaller schools, that big gap in number, those schools, are you accounting Title I, like funding that comes? Or?
Whatever expenditures are at that school, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Only thing I edit out is the capital expenditures, because that's such a different animal, different side of the house. And I will say our largest, for this particular year, the largest number is $13,500 per student.
So thank you for that, and we can send you the spreadsheet that has the by school. But the other thing that we're doing, there were some questions about taking a look at the effectiveness of expenditures for special programs, and I don't think we're quite ready to do that this evening, but we are trying to gather some information about effectiveness measures for some of the special programs that we do have in existence. So I'm going to ask Penny or Brantley, either one, if they would move this to the next slide. I did have two of our members who sent me what they would consider priorities, and I've gone ahead and coded those on the chart and would suggest that perhaps
Okay.
as a stepping off point
From
for
current to
the
beginning.
conversation that the board would have about the priorities of other members within these opportunities or things that you might add to it.
Okay.
And, don't be limited by the fact that we know that Brantley hasn't found any money yet. But he will.
That's a lot of pressure, Ms. Blackburn. I don't need any more.
I do understand that. Yes, I do.
Well, I did a little bit of figuring, and it's only something like $27 million to cover it all.
Yeah, and again, if the state funded education the way they should, we could do it all. So, almost all. Unfortunately.
So basically, I would invite anyone who would like to chime in about priorities or have statements about priorities or
I'll get it started. Let me be the first to stick my neck out. Actually, the third to stick my neck out. We've got two already up there. Without a doubt, I agree with the representatives from District 5 and District 9. Just the incredible teaching staff that we have here. These teachers that have just had a tremendous impact on me as an educator. Lauren Reeder, Amanda Cromer, Stephanie Wallace. I wish I could remember them all. Angela Adams. And tonight we heard from Sharon Blackwood. She's fantastic. I will tell Miss Blackwood that I lost a lower state championship on the Golden Flashes field as a high school principal, and I still wake up at night. It's a recurring nightmare. It was a heartbreaker of a loss. Without a doubt, my first priority, I'm in agreement with the representatives of District 5 and 9. I am also in agreement with the growth as being the second rated factor. At that point, I need some more time, and I can get this to you as soon as tomorrow, Superintendent, because we do not need to hold you up any longer. But I'm certainly in agreement with our first two representatives on the first and second priority. Y'all don't all jump in at once.
I'll say, are we going down the line? Or?
See, you were following an order. That's a mom.
I was going to say, I'm trying to stay in my space, man. I kind of struggle with the word special program because I feel like special program means that it's something beyond what we should be offering. But fully funding the School of the Arts and the Rural Initiative are the places that I represent and where I feel like there are achievement gaps that we can close. Those are the things I feel like if we put money in, we're directly affecting kids. So that's my top priority. Special program kind of makes me uncomfortable because I feel like it's not additional or extra or special. It's what we need to do there to close the achievement gap for the kids, especially that rural initiative. And then number 2 for me is compensation for teachers. And I know there was a line item somewhere where we said we could add arts and music teachers and increase planning time for elementary school teachers. That's not on this list, but money in the classroom and money for teachers is where I want to invest all my money. So I don't fit in your box. All that good.
That's why we have other.
I'll be
down
other,
there.
so I need to be special and other. Other special, Sally. No, special programs, 1, competitive compensation, 2, and then other is looking at how you fund out the arts and music teachers to increase the planning time for the elementary school teachers.
As I look at this, my number 1 would be the competitive compensation. I think our teachers and employees need compensation in that area. And number 2, definitely, without a shadow of doubt, I support the rural initiative and special art programs in the area. Now, when we come down to restoration, I had a problem there because I said, wow, if it took us from what year? 2000 what? 10, 11, 12, 3 years? It was a little more than 3 years to get to that. There's about 4 years. There's no way that we could meet all of that in 1 year. So it'll have to be some kind of phasing in process in that. Growth definitely is a priority that we have to look at. But I really believe that as we walk through the growth pattern, with the number of citizens that are coming into Berkeley County and the growth of Berkeley County, the tax base is going to increase. And I believe that the tax base is going to increase, so we're going to have funds to assist us with some growth. Well, I believe people are buying houses in Berkeley County. Not as much as renting. Okay.
We don't receive a full mill, Reverend Barnes. We only receive a partial mill in education due to Act 388.
I know.
Yes, sir.
But you can talk to
Amen.
There are some others, but I'll do that later.
I need some more time as well.
I agree with Reverend Barnes on the restoration of items. I would put that, though, at the top of my list, assuming we pare that down. The one I think we hear most consistently is that $800,000 in school supplies from the schools. I mean, that's money that goes directly to the classroom. And so I would probably put that pared down version, school supplies, at number 1, and then the competitive compensation at number 2, growth at number 3. I added technology coaches to the list. I think if we're going to be bringing all this technology to our schools, we need to have some way to implement it in the classroom. So I would add that next on my list. Then special programs. I think we do need more choice options. And I don't know what number I'm on if I've run out, but I can.
5.
5. Okay, I'll stop there for now.
Well, I think for me, just my top 3, I'm going to go a little different than everybody else. That shouldn't be surprising to some of you, but my number 1 is bus driver salary. We cannot keep bus drivers. We can't get the kids to school on time. I hear on a daily basis how we have late buses because some of our bus drivers are having to pick up 2 routes just for 1 school. And that we have to get bus drivers in here. I mean, we have to have buses, but I mean, if we have buses just sitting there and nobody to drive them, then kids aren't getting to school. I do believe that we need to have competitive compensation. So I guess that would be my number 2. And I think I lied. I think I'll do 4. My top 4. I guess my number 3 would be restoration. We cut so much, and we were down to bare bones at one point. And I mean, we're not far off from that from some things, but teacher evaluation, I know that office really suffered when we made cuts. Teacher supply cost, I mean, it was down to next to nothing if they got anything. And then my number 3 would be special programs. I'm a huge supporter of the arts, and I don't want to see that go away. I don't want to see it phased out. And some of the things that I'm hearing are disturbing, that things that may be going away. And I need to make sure that we keep that.
I think for me, competitive compensation would be number one. Restoration would be number two. Growth would be number three. Special programs would be number four. I think that compensation and restoration, kind of like those two, would be very important for us to deal with, because I think we can't get past that. Some of the others I'm not too sure about as we fall on that line. It could go wherever, but that's kind of like where I am.
Okay. I think I have some good direction, so we have some things to work with and about, and while Brantley looks for the money.
It's at the end of the rainbow. It's the big pot of gold.
I've already been there. It's not there. Look. So.
When I came aboard, you said you were the money man, so look for the money.
So I think that finishes my agenda. Thank you very much, Chairman Hayes, and board members.
I've kind of done a little bit of thinking about our teachers, and again, once we've gotten teachers into Berkeley County, we very seldom have one leave our district and go to one of our neighboring districts because they become a member of this family. But these young kids coming out of college, the number one thing to them is the dollar. They don't know, they don't know about the family business and how important it is to feel wanted and appreciated and know that, you become a member of that faculty and all of a sudden you're a member of that community. And over the next 20 years, we're going to need a minimum of 800 new teachers. If we have a growth of 20,000 students, we're going to need 800 teachers to teach them. And that doesn't include the normal turnover, teachers retiring, teachers who are leaving because of their spouse moving or themselves moving to other parts. And it also doesn't include administrators. It doesn't include service personnel. And if you look into our formula, you're looking at thousands of people. And if we do not have a competitive, right there in the same area that Dorchester and Charleston has as far as their beginning salaries, folks, we're going to get the marginal teachers. And the marginal teachers will not continue the great expectations that we have in this district. And we want to make sure that the quality of education we offer here stays up there. People with coming into Volvo, they're going to expect that. They want to see the best. They don't want to see marginal. So that's, when you look at things like competitive compensation and service personnel and support personnel and everything, it all comes down to we've got to give them something they can live on. And that's where I came from on mine. Any other comments? All right. Then we are going to look at executive session where we'll be looking at student appeals. We have a total of 8. We're looking at student expulsions. We have a total of 5. We're looking at a discussion of pending employment matters and discussion of a contractual matter, a property purchase. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
Mr. Chair, I move that we go into executive session.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to go into executive session again to hear student appeals on both attendance and expulsion, employment matters, and the contractual matter. Any discussion? Then all those in favor of this motion, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.